It's having a bit of struggling getting onto YouTube. Let me just make sure that's up before I go ahead. Okay, fab.
Who's joining from the... Sophia?
Sorry, yeah, I didn't realize I was logged into this. It was the interview. I'll log out and rejoin.
Okay, there we are.
Can you like share it like big? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and let me know when you want.
Yeah.
To admit everyone.
Yeah, go ahead. Hi, everybody. Has everybody been admitted?
Yes, but I'm not sure they can hear you yet.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Just double checking.
Yes, hi Anna.
Hello, perfect. Hello, it's lovely to see you, everybody. Well, see your names. Feel free to put your videos on if you feel. If not, that's absolutely fine. We'll just wait in here for a few moments just while we allow everybody to join. But obviously, this is the Children First National Info Day, so thank you very much for joining. We are expecting to have a low number today just because obviously everybody's out enjoying their summer holidays, but we did want to give you this one last opportunity to learn a bit more about the Children First project. So feel free to put your name in the chat, what industry you're from, say if you're a teacher or a youth leader, just say a little bit of hello to everybody. And I am going to let me just put the links in the chat for everybody for the e-game and other resources like that, so you can have access to those. Just while we wait for everybody, it'll be nice if you just go check a look at those if you like, or if you haven't downloaded the game yet. So today we'll be going over those sorts of things, so it might be useful for you to take a look at those. Let me just get my screen sharing again. Okay. Just wait a few minutes. Hope everyone's well today. It was supposed to be a really sunny day, but unfortunately not. We are going to be taking screenshots throughout, and we will be recording this as well, just to let you know. And it is going to be live streamed on YouTube and Facebook as well if you want to go back to it after this meeting. Is there anybody else in the waiting room, Desiree? Okay, perfect. I might just go ahead and get started then. So just to introduce myself, I am Hannah Upton. I recently graduated as a sociology student from the University of Greenwich, and throughout my final year, I was a project and communications intern with IARS. I have now taken on the role of project associate, and today I will be leading the National Info Day on the Children First project. Okay, so this is what we will cover today. So to start with, I'll go through an introduction to the Children First project and give a few statistics on the state of the UK at the moment in terms of gender-based violence and teen dating violence. Then we'll go ahead and take a look at our work with young people. So this includes the e-game that we provide. And then we'll go ahead and look at our work with adults. So this includes the e-learning platform that we provide for teachers and educators as well. Throughout, I will also provide the feedback and successes of these two platforms. And then there will be a chance at the end for you to ask any questions. If you do have any questions whilst we're going through, please put them in the chat and we'll get back to those at the end. Finally, Desiree will be giving us a little insight into the latest edition of the 99% magazine. So make sure you stay until the end for that. Okay, so before we start, I am going to give a few definitions, just two really important ones that are vital for the Children First project, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the first definition is gender-based violence. So that is violence directed against a person because of that person's gender. So this does include gender identity and expression as well, or violence that affects persons of a particular gender disproportion. It can be physical, sexual, or psychological, and includes violence in close relationships, such as teen dating violence that we're going to focus on as well today. It does include rape, slavery, harmful practices as well, and then also more recently, cyber violence and harassment using new technologies. And the second one we are going to be talking about is dating violence. So this is violence perpetuated by children and teens whilst dating, prior to and during becoming adolescents and forming long-term relationships. It is defined as violence that has serious and long-lasting impacts as well. Okay, now to start. So what is the Children First project? So just a backstory of it. So gender-based violence is a widespread phenomenon in all parts of society, and children and young people are no strangers to this type of violence, unfortunately. Policy and literature on this issue are slowly growing, so that is great. However, dating violence among children and teenagers remains largely under-researched and untackled. So the Children First project was developed as a response to this current and urgent European need of addressing gender-based violence among children and focusing particularly on dating violence, just to get those statistics up and get our knowledge up on that as well. Okay, so the aims of Children First, what we actually focus on. So the Children First project is a shared effort to educate school children aged between 12 and 18 in order to prevent and tackle dating violence from an early age. So we do this by undermining gender stereotypes, norms, and roles that are the main causes of such violence. We focus both on young people and adults, including educators like yourselves, in order to educate young people and also educators as well in this type of violence. Okay, so here are our partners that we also do the Children First project with. So the Children First project is also currently being implemented in Greece, Cyprus, Lithuania, and Italy with our European partners, as you can see, in order to tackle gender-based violence and teen dating violence internationally. So in terms of our target audiences, the Children First project have two primary target audiences. So the first primary target group consists of educators, professionals in formal and informal settings. So this includes teachers, youth workers, and other educators in public and private and even voluntary organisations as well. So I hope this covers, one of those at least covers one of you. And in short, these are the professionals who do come into contact, in direct contact with children and have a role and responsibility to provide them with the right educational paths and tools. And then the second is our primary target group, who are children and young people. So again, the ages of 12 to 18, with particular focus on people of marginalised backgrounds. So this includes migrants, refugees, ethnic minorities, religious minorities, and LGBTQI+ individuals. This is because these are the people who are most at risk of becoming victims of dating violence as a form of SRGBV, so that is school-related gender-based violence. Okay, so just to give you a backstory onto the UK and why it is needed in the UK. these are just some statistics just to give you a background. So 1 in 5 teenagers have been physically abused by their boyfriends or girlfriends in the UK. The evidence on dating violence amongst children is now slowly growing, so that is obviously fantastic, but it is pointing to an urgent need for action at policy and practice level. So that is very vital at the moment. It is violence that may or may not come to the attention of criminal justice agents or be dealt with through formal public structures. This is even though it is defined as violence that has serious and long-lasting impacts and may include physical, emotional, or psychological consequences. So that is the state of the UK at the moment. And why the Children First project is so important and is needed at the moment is because violence in and around educational settings is a global phenomenon, unfortunately. So more than 246 million children worldwide are subject to gender-based violence in or around school every single year. And incidents of school-related gender-based violence cut across cultures, religions, and economies. And educators and teachers can play an important role in supporting children and teenagers who experience GBV by identifying different forms of GBV and committing to prevention through education. So that is why we focus on these 2 types of teaching materials. So in order to educate people on gender-based violence and teen dating violence, there are 2 streams of teaching materials that we provide. So one of them is through the e-learning game, which serves as a stream of independent learning. And the other is e-learning platform that focuses on teaching inside of classrooms and other educational spaces. So this involves teachers taking the e-learning module. So just to give you a bit of background before we go ahead and dive into both of these teaching materials, I'll just give a bit of background. So the educational e-game is addressed to children and young people and aims at supporting them in challenging the rigid social norms and gender stereotypes in our society today, whilst promoting gender socialisation and healthy relationships. And then our second, which is our other primary group, is our e-learning course, which is a theoretical and practical course aimed at strengthening teachers' already existing capacities and understanding on how to identify and also tackle school-related gender-based violence. Okay, so just to give you a bit more of a background about the project as a whole, and just so you understand how Children First know all of this information and how it was developed to be specific to both young people and teachers at the same time. The Children First project has three main factors. So the first is a bottom-up approach. As you can see, the second is a user-led approach, and the third is a non-discrimination principle. So these have all been upheld throughout, and the project began and has consistently been led by the views of children and young people in order to understand how they perceive violence and understanding their points on relationships. This is in combination to the feedback and opinions of the Youth Advisory Board from IARS, which I'm also a member of, thankfully. In order to create these teaching materials, though, the project has collected opinions and views of more than 500 adolescents between the ages of 12 and 18. And it's also discussed the issues with adults that work with or are parents to children. So this is through interviews, through focus groups and online questionnaires throughout the UK, Greece, Cyprus and Lithuania, and also Italy. So throughout the project, us as a Youth Advisory Board have been consultants which have proactively communicated and engaged with other young people and staff to boost the project's engagement and also relatability to young people today. So all of our opinions have been taken on board completely and taken into consideration and valued at every single point of the construction of this. So we are very thankful for that. A little ahead of schedule, but I'm sure that suits everybody so we can get out on the day quicker. So just to go straight into our work with young people. So in order to reach the target audiences that we have set out, including the children and young people, we have created an e-game that can be downloaded onto phones, onto iPads, etc., to promote independent learning for young people. So please do make sure that you check into the chat and have a look at that, download the game. I've given both of the Apple Store and Google Play Store links as well. So please do check the game out, have a go, and even share it to younger people that you know as well. So the objective of the Children First game is to educate school children from the ages of 12 to 18 on how to properly prevent and address dating violence from an early age. So in order to achieve this, it does use a set of scenarios and a progressive flow. So this motivates children to play all the scenarios that we offer and address all the challenges that they are set. So just to give you a bit of more of an understanding of the game, I've provided some screenshots of it so you can get a flavour of what it would look like and the form of it as well. So the app is set out as a story, as you can see, that is followed by the player. And the player reads through a few definitions to start with about GBV, about sex and gender and others. So that can be seen in the top left screen. They then have the option to pick a character, as can be seen in the bottom left and the middle of the screen as well. So an example of that is Iman, a 14-year-old boy who is second-generation immigrant from Syria that has been messaging an older guy and has been physically and emotionally abused by his classmates for his sexuality. So each character is completely different within the game and includes characters of different ethnicities, different sexualities, genders, backgrounds and minorities, just so we make sure we keep to that non-discrimination principle as well. So the game follows the chosen character's fictional scenario, and the player has to make decisions that challenge their personal beliefs, gender stereotypes and norms that lead to this type of violence. This can be seen in the bottom right and top right corners as well. So through the scenarios, stereotypes and gender roles are undermined and rejected, and principles of equality and inclusion for all of are embedded, thus supporting the principle of non-discrimination, equality between women and men, and the rights of the child. So this really challenges their thinking and allows them to understand it on a deeper level, going through different scenarios that they may not usually see in their own life. So at the end of the game, they receive feedback on their decisions, and they are recommended to reflect on the gaming experience and learn from the situations that they have read through. So as you can see, there's a bit of feedback in their decisions, and then also just a bit of understanding at the end of why those decisions were correct or why those decisions should be changed. So the as you can see, you can replay the scenario, go through and change your thinking, and we just like that because it promotes children changing their thinking in a positive way. So the style of e-game presents an independent learning environment for young people, as I've said, to understand different scenarios and learn the correct responses and decisions to such violence. Therefore, if they see the warning signs in their own life, they know exactly what to do because they have practiced in the game. Okay, so just to give you some feedback on the success of this e-game, we were consulted as a youth advisory board, and as IELTS did consult the youth advisory board and also other young people as well. So I'm thankful that I was able to provide my insights and convey the opinions of not only mine and but the youth advisory boards as well. So the following quotes and feedback we're about to discuss were discussed by myself and the Youth Advisory Board in a user group meeting where we were spoken with to understand our opinions. So the Youth Advisory Board and I found it a great tool to relate to youth now, as technology is at the forefront of their learning and interacting. So choosing an app like this was the best way to directly make its impact. So we found it accessible, easy to use and understand, and we all really liked the terms, so the definitions being at the beginning of the game, as it allows young people to widen their vocabulary and terminology in order to understand the topic and conversation a bit better. One of our members shared, if it helps just one person, then it does good. So we found that fantastic because, as we know, the one person who goes through the game as a player can identify the warning signs and know the correct procedures after playing the game, not only for themselves, but also for those around them. So not only protecting themselves, but also their friends, family, and whenever they do see the warning signs as well. So originally, the Youth Advisory Board all agreed that it was a great way to reach the target audience, as I've said. However, some suggested that there was a little too much text to read for the ages of 12 to 18, as it has to be broad enough to suit all types. So the app designers took that on directly, completely, and adapted the game to suit the needs of us as a Youth Advisory Board and the target audience. So not only were our opinions heard, they were also put into practice as well. So therefore, after this, the scenarios back and forth were easy to follow and were entertaining. They were also engaging whilst offering educational information that was easy to follow and take in as well. So that was fantastic for us to see that our opinions were really taken on. In terms of the effectiveness of the app, when we were discussing it and whether it will prevent dating violence, the Youth Advisory Board felt that the app allows people to learn about the topic without feeling pressured to talk to other people about it. So really pushing the independent learning. It gives someone a good place to start in terms of thinking about the subject as well, just as a starting board to go off before they learn about it in lessons or even after, just to go over it. And it means that people can learn this important information without having to share things that make them feel judged or uncomfortable. So this was something that was really important that we learned while studying and researching before making the app, as a lot of young people find it difficult to talk about these sort of topics with their peers or with their parents. So for them to learn about this in a safe environment where it's just a bit of practice, where they can understand the correct procedures without having to ask the questions and answer questions about their own experiences. So just a bit more about the improvements to the project and feedback. We found it amazing that the whole project hit two different streams of teachers, not only learning independently, but also teaching as well, but also children learning independently and learning in the classroom. So fantastic for them to learn in a way that suits them. Just for a future part of this project as well, within the Youth Advisory Board meeting, we did discuss, hopefully when it's safe, for schools to have representatives, including other young people, come into schools and present the e-game and also the project as a whole to young people in order to teach them about it, as this can really relate to the students on a level that isn't a teacher telling them or hearing that from their friends, as we found wasn't the most helpful. It's people who are the same age as them who are able to relate. Okay, we're just going to take 5 minutes here just to have a break, just to give everyone a bit of a stretch, go grab a cup of tea, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. So thank you very much for listening so far, and we'll see you in just a second.
And if you have any questions, don't forget to put them in the chat, or feel free to just ask anything that you want to know.
Of course. Okay, fantastic. See you back here at 2 o'clock. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back. We're just going to end up our break here. Just checking, has anybody downloaded the game or had a look at our e-learning course as well? They are extremely incredible. I do love them. I know I'm biased, but make sure you do check those out as well, or even put in the chat if you've downloaded them already. Okay, so for the next part of this meeting and info day, we will be talking about our work with adults. So in this section, we will be doing an activity. So please do make sure that you either have your notes app open with the little pen icon, or even if you have a pen and paper nearby, please grab that as we're going through. So I'll work with adults. Make sure you've enrolled so you can register for the e-learning course. This is available for absolutely everybody and is called our 5 Steps to Healthy Relationships in School and Personal Life. So it is a CPD accredited course for professionals working in formal and informal settings, educational settings. And again, just to give you another bit of a background, it is a theoretical and practical course aimed at strengthening teachers' already existing capacities and understanding on how to identify and tackle school-related gender-based violence. All of the information I'm providing today about the e-learning course is within the training modules, so make sure you go check those out afterwards. So here are the different modules that we have on offer. Number 1 is mapping attitudes and creating a safe learning environment. 2 is understanding the causes of gender-based violence. 3 is tackling school-related gender-based violence. 4 is tackling teen dating violence, and 5 is building resilience and responding to school-related gender-based violence. So the course goes through from understanding the causes, what actually is gender-based violence and teen dating violence, preventing and tackling these, and then onto reporting as well. You will also receive action plans throughout as well, so you can implement those within your schools. So the training is about identifying and educating what the gender norms are, providing examples and activities throughout to relate this to young people in a way that is more understandable, and providing ways of reversing and changing the ideas around the gender norms. Okay, so to move on to the aims of the e-learning training platform, we do want to make sure that you create the knowledge and awareness of it, improve your understanding of the 2 different types as well within school, provide you with appropriate tools and the best practices to be able to tackle and prevent these, even identify them as well with a starting point, enable you to gain awareness of the signs and risk factors that lead to the victimization of children and young people, and strengthen and promote your multi-agency cooperation. So that's with your local and national agents. And lastly, support your work in partnerships with local authorities and communities, etc. So the e-learning course, it's a training that provides activities that are helpful and easy to follow and also implement within classrooms. And each module has a list of resources that are recommended at the end. The duration of the activity that we are suggesting, and a step-by-step guide as to how to teach the information in your classroom as well. There are also discussion questions to prompt group discussions within the classroom and exercise the knowledge that your students have learned to ensure that they understand the information that they've learned and can actually implement it as well. All of these modules have been created with teachers and young people in mind. So when setting out activities from the modules, they are specific to the terminology and criteria for teachers and lessons, but it's also relatable and understandable for young people to keep them engaged and educated. At the end of each module, you will be assessed, and this is just through a method of quizzes that use information in the e-learning modules. So it's not difficult, and you can always retake the quizzes. So in order for you to succeed in these quizzes, you must complete all of the multiple choice and drop down boxes. So the answers are in front of you, you just need to select them and remember what you have learnt. You can always reattempt them, as I've said, just to make sure that you have gone over your learning and corrected those stereotypes. Therefore, this training not only tests your students' understanding of social norms on gender, but also your own, to ensure that these gender norms aren't being reproduced in an incorrect way. So this is just a little screenshot from the module. This is from module 2 actually, and there is a wide selection, as you can see, of vocabulary provided and explained. So these will be the correct ones for you. So features such as this are obviously very important, as you do need to make sure that these types of vocabulary and definitions are correct, as you are leading by example. So make sure that you use the correct vocab and make sure that you put this into practice when you're teaching as well. So just to give you a bit of background, we're going to go through module 1 and module 5, just to give you a bit of information on that so you understand what you're learning and how the modules progress as well. So module 1 is an incredibly interesting way to get started in terms of lessons, as it begins to change the ideas around social norms, for example, gender stereotypes that conform to the socially constructed roles. So an example of this would be, in the 1950s, a gender stereotype would be that women would work at home doing housework, and men would be the providers for the house out in labour. So just to give you a background on these socially constructed roles, so these are defined by our gender. So gender norms pertain to the standards and expectations of which men and women are driven or pressured to comply with, within the range defined by a specific society, civilization and community at any given time. So these can be set within time, obviously, but they are constantly changing, and hopefully for the better now. Gender equality is one of the milestones of modern democracy, and the way in which gender roles are defined and socially constructed affect gender power relations. So harmful gender stereotypes and wrongful gender stereotypes are one of the root causes of discrimination, abuse and gender-based violence. So that is why we focus so much on it in the modules. So different studies that are mentioned throughout the training and similar experiments show that we tend to assign different roles for boys and girls on stereotypically assigned gender roles at each time and setting. So a basic differentiation that you all should have in mind is the difference between sex and gender, just so we can make sure that we understand the vocabulary and we are reproducing that to other people as well in the correct way. So here is a little activity for us all. If you want to join in, please do, and just make sure that you have something to write on, whether that be on your phone or on a piece of paper. So this is a part of the modules, and this is from module 1, and it is called left to right changing perceptions. So you can show this as an exercise, and they are extremely effective, as we have found, and hopefully you'll be able to see after this, at helping students understand how preconceived notions and perceptions are deep-rooted in society when they are socialised. So if you want to try this out, please do. Hopefully I've given you enough time to get some pen and paper if you haven't already. So the left-right changing perceptions suggests to ask students to write a sentence with their dominant hand. So the dominant hand is, I am in charge of my dreams and future. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of time now just to write that down. So I'm just going to repeat that for you. I am in charge of my dreams and future. So as you can see, we're all used to writing with our dominant hand. Easy to do, we're used to it, we understand how to do it. And then the activity asks, so this is for students, but obviously I'm asking you to write this sentence in your least dominant hand as well. So go ahead and try that with your least dominant hand. I know it's quite difficult, I've tried it before. So the sentence is, I am in charge of my dreams and future. So if you go ahead and try that. So just to show you what it's supposed to represent and how teaching this to young people really does help. This represents the changing perceptions from gender stereotypes that are deep-rooted, and so deep-rooted that it is very hard to stop referring to the learned behaviour in certain situations. So obviously right-handed, you're used to it, dominant hand, you're used to it, least dominant hand, you're not used to it at all, and it is difficult for you to do so instantaneously. Having said that, it is possible to train yourself to be able to master writing both hands. So this is the same with gender stereotypes as well. So if you have the knowledge on how to recognize them, you may be able to train yourself with the changing your approach as well to gender stereotypes. So for us to be able to teach this to young people, this is a great way for them to actually see themselves in an environment, in a classroom, or even in a different educational setting as well. So hopefully you've been able to see that that is a great way for young people to learn, and also for yourselves as well, for you to understand the different changing perceptions of gender stereotypes. Just to add as well, there are lots of other different activities throughout the module. As you can see, the different durations, they go up to 45 minutes or even an hour as well, just to suit lesson plans. And it also gives you the materials that you need to set up the lesson. And then at the end, there are suggestions for discussion questions, as I already mentioned. So just to give you an insight then into module 5, which is our last module, building resilience and responding to SRGBV. So by the end of this module, learners will be able to apply the appropriate tools and best practices as they've learned throughout the module. Apply multi-agency cooperation with local and national agencies. Work in partnership with local authorities and the community to develop implementations of procedures for recording and referring cases of gender-based violence, taking a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approach. So this is really important for schools in particular, as when they are creating their action plan, they need to make sure that they have these different local authorities and community support in place, so they can ensure that they are doing it correctly. And then also apply peer-to-peer learning techniques for prevention of GBV in educational settings. So this will be, say, just like the e-learning game, a storyboard. One peer says to another peer, say these are students, a scenario, and they have to give the correct answer. And if it's not correct, then we hope to change those perceptions. Okay, so when violence does happen within schools, then you as educators do need to react quickly to offer help and support to children affected. So these are both the victims and perpetrators as well, as both do need the support to make sure it does not happen again. So schools do have the duty to protect children and take care of them when they are within school, as the duty bearers. So in this sense, school must have a response mechanism in terms of an action plan in place for when an incident does occur. So just to give you a bit more of a background into the modules, we do offer you the different types of activities, but also for you to understand for yourselves and also disseminate this information to children as well. You do need to look out for these types of warning signs. So it is important to look out for these, as they are often present in victims of violence. If you suspect violence among students, it is very important to ask them about it in a way that is confidential, empathetic, and does not judge them. So just when looking through these, remember that for when you do have to, hopefully not, but if you do have to ask a child about it, please make sure it's confidential and empathetic towards them. So here are just a few of the typical warning signs and symptoms to look out for. In combination, these can lead to a lot more, so you need to make sure that you are keeping out for these. So often asking for money, low academic performance, fear of going to school. A big a physical one is marks or unexplained bruises, scratches, broken bones, etc. absenteeism, trying to stay near adults a lot, not sleeping well and maybe having nightmares. They may come into school and discuss this with you. Psychosomatic tendencies, and regularly stressed after spending time online. Another one that we found when studying as well was being aggressive and having angry outbursts as a big one to look out for. So, throughout the module, again, we offer you different types of ways of learning the correct way to deal with this type of violence. So here is the what to do and what not to do. So this is after you have identified the warning signs and the symptoms as we just discussed. And this is what to do after that, following through with this. And this is just a really quick screenshot of what we do offer. We do offer a lot more in-depth explanations as to what to do, and little structures to follow through with, a little take-off list to understand the different types of ways to go through it as well. So just to give you a few here, obviously do believe them. It's difficult for children to come to teachers, as we found in our research, especially to come to peers as well. So if a child does open up to you, please do believe them and take it forward. While saying that, please do make sure that you're honest and trustworthy, and do not give them any false information or give them unrealistic promises as well. Do be aware of the your own biases and prejudices when going forward, and do help the survivor to plan for safety. Make sure that you do use your available contacts, including services, so then you can make sure that you get the best out of the situation and gain the most amount of support for this victim or perpetrator. So the key parts of reacting, remember that you as an educator should act when you see an incident of SRGBV or teen dating violence. If it does interrupt a lesson, then you do need to make sure that you are going through and showing the correct stance to ensure that the violent perpetrator does not see this as a sign of approval. So the key points for supporting those who have gone through it is to provide counselling and support, again using the healthcare services, etc., to your advantage to make sure that the child gets the most support that they need. And also, according to the research that we conducted, Children First students as victims of SRGBV usually keep this experience to themselves or disclose it to their peers for seeking advice. Therefore, it is important to raise awareness within the classrooms, and this is why Children First is so important among peers, and prepare peer mentoring as well. As I discussed before, the peer-to-peer question and answers, and then also people, points of contact within your school that other peers could go to if they do not feel comfortable coming to teachers. So as I said, you need to make sure that you do react to it, even if it is in a lesson, non-formal education activity, etc., as it is your duty as educators to go through with this. Okay, so if you do get to a point where you see an altercation, you do need to intervene, as we've said. So here are some tips for you to ensure that you are going through this correct way. So obviously stay calm within the situation, listen to understand the points of the victim and also the aggressor, and define the problem in a way that will prevent or stop the violence and diffuse the tension. Communicate the positive messages throughout it as well, and identify, always consider personal safety when intervening. So if necessary, you can call upon other educators, police officers, and other services available as well. Now, okay, we've gone through this very quickly, but I hope that is okay with everybody, just to make sure that you've got all of the information, and we can make sure that you have a great day after this as well and take it all in. So the takeaway from the whole of the modules and the e-learning platform is for you to remember that you as an educator play an important role in preventing SRGBV, which again stands for school-related gender-based violence and teen dating violence. So by taking action, you serve as a role model for young people and inspire to take action as well, as create safe learning environments for students. So us as Children First, need to support you in this and want to support you in this, and this is why we have provided the e-learning platform for you to go through, learn the correct ways of going through the processes and procedures, and ensuring that you have all the information that you need to enact this important role of preventing SRGBV and teen dating violence. Okay, so just to remind you, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. After this section, we'll be going into a Q&A if anybody does have any questions, and just to discuss it a bit further if you want more information. Okay, so feedback and successes. So following the completion of the workshops, participants were asked to evaluate the course and its potential impact on their working practice via a post-training online questionnaire. So the vast majority of trainees provided a positive evaluation of the course, which is fantastic for us to hear, that what we are providing is completely and utterly taken on board by everybody that completed it. So here is just one example of the answers that were given. So participants were, sorry, let me just move this. Participants were asked to indicate their level of agreement with a range of statements, including these on the left, to assess the potential impact of the course on their daily work. So the people that undertook this e-learning platform were educators in informal and formal settings like yourselves. So these were the responses that they gave. As you can see, the training was relevant and beneficial to my daily work. The majority did say strongly agree, and so for every other question as well, the majority was strongly agree. For I will use the training materials and resources in my daily work, every person said that they strongly agree with this. So it is great for us to hear, and also obviously for you to hear, that the resources that we are providing and the materials will be taken on board by others in your fields as well, and that it does suit your field and the expectations for that. The perceptions and attitudes were a bit varied. Obviously, it is difficult to get people's perceptions changed with just one go. So we hope for the Children First programme project, to continue to help change people's perceptions, as the majority were changed. So hopefully we'll get those other numbers up as well soon. And I would recommend this course to my colleagues or others. The majority again strongly agree. So if that isn't enough to show you that the e-learning course is effective and taken on board by others in your field, then I don't know what is. Just to give a little bit more of an overview of the feedback and successes of the e-learning platform. The workshop was well received by participants, as you can see, some of them expressing during the session the need of those of the course and the relevance in today's society. So it improved participants' knowledge about GBV in schools, gender equality, gender stereotypes, norms and roles among adolescents as well. So as we said, the research on this is not vast, but it is increasing at the moment. So we really hope that this will be a big point to help teachers and educators as well. And as we can see, it has been a success at doing that. So participants seem to find the content useful and educative, with all of them claiming to have learnt something new. Despite the fact that the training didn't seem to change the participants' perceptions, as I've showed you, attitudes and behaviours, including in that as well, it did improve the participants' ability to identify cases of gender-based violence, to respond to the incidents of it, to report the cases of it, and also train and deal with the issues related to gender-based violence in schools and among adolescents as well. So that is fully shows the successes of it, because identifying not only starts to help the problem, but also all the way to reporting it really does make an impact. So for us to take you through all of those different types of follow-throughs, we really hope to get the gender-based violence and within schools, and also teen dating violence statistics down within the UK and also internationally as well. So please make sure that you do enroll. Again, it is in the chat. And now it's time for a Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions, I'm just going to pop into the chat section. So please do make sure you ask any questions. The floor's open if you want to have a go. Okay, just to promote a bit of question and answer, I'll just give you a bit more information from my point of view, from going from an intern to working within the project as well. As a young person, I really do see this as the forefront of taking this further. So the information that we have on the website obviously shows you exactly what we do, but the feedback that we've been able to get from young people and teachers really does show us that this program will be taking the problems forward in dealing with them, identifying them within schools and outside of schools as well with independent learning. So if anybody has any questions about the e-game, say about downloading it or the opinions, or even the e-learning platform with how to access it or what it involves. I'll just give you a few minutes if you want to pop them in the chat, or if anybody has any questions and wants to unmute themselves. Okay, fabulous. Hopefully, oh, there we go. No questions. Great. Oh, thank you very much. So hopefully you have learned a lot from this today. You have more of an understanding. Was there anything that surprised you about the research with either young people or teachers? Okay, thank you for the great question, Claire. So in terms of the research with young people, because I hope to see myself as a young person, I did understand the peer-to-peer level of talking, and also to teachers as well. I wasn't surprised about the fact that a lot of people keep it to themselves. Unfortunately, this is a true fact that is across the UK and Europe at the moment. A lot of young people are keeping these experiences that they suffer to themselves. So for us to be able to take that on board and really try and change that, I'm really happy about the fact that I'm involved in a project like this where we can try and promote that. In terms of teachers, I didn't realise that across all schools, or the majority of schools, this was not a topic discussed. I know that within my school, this was never brought up as a subject or even a topic at all. So it is very surprising to the fact that this is not discussed in any schools even now. So for us to bring this as an e-learning course and for teachers to implement within schools, it is fantastic for them to learn themselves, but also for them to implement within schools to teach children as well. So we have those two streams going. Desiree, is there anything you would like to add on that question?
Me? No, but something that I think surprised me, but in a sad way, I guess, was one of the answers that we got asking young people if they would like share this, or like, you know, asking them why they wouldn't go to their parents or like the teachers, or and like, you know, just asking them about the game and if they enjoy it and like what they thought of everything. And they will be very specific about, like, no, I will never go to a teacher, I will never go to a parent, but there is this huge need for this. So I really want like this game because I really want to share with my youngest siblings. And so like there is that needs, and they know that, and they want to protect, you know, the kids, like the children and the people that are younger than them. But that's not a responsibility that they should have. And that to me was a bit like, you know, shocking and sad, because it, you know, a kid should feel comfortable enough to just talk to adults. And I don't know, that to me was like the shocking and sad part of this.
Okay, so just a question from Rebecca. Are you hoping this will be something that will be implemented and done during class, or is it something you are hoping teachers and schools will just promote? So we hope that both will happen. Thank you for the question. So obviously we hope that schools will promote this, not only the game, but also the e-learning platforms for other educators as well. So for them to take on the e-learning platform and promote it within their school, within their teachers, not only to learn for themselves, but also to implement within the classrooms as well. As I mentioned before, we are hoping sometime in the near future, hopefully when possible, to get young representatives to go into schools to promote this. So we are relating to young people on a level that they understand that isn't from teachers, as we've seen, or isn't from their peers, where the two people aren't either listened to or aren't reached out to. We hope that our young people promoting this will be able to get onto a level the same as theirs and relate to them. So promoting within schools, number one, yes, definitely. And then also implementing during classrooms, yes, 100%. The e-learning platform offers different activities, lesson plans, resources, etc., for teachers to actually implement within the classroom. It is a full structure of a lesson plan for them to take on, ranging from 15 minutes as a short exercise to an hour's long lesson as well. So not only do we give them the information for them to learn, we've also given them the ability to implement this within the classroom and really do it as a full lesson or a quick activity. And we've taken it through the stages within each module, say the understanding to the implementing it within the classroom to the tackling it and then reporting it as well. So with the warning signs, they will also hopefully be implemented within the classroom for young people to not only understand them, but also see them within the game. And then that's the double lot of the two sets of streamings for them to understand as well. So thank you very much for that question, Rebecca. I hope that answered it. If anybody else does have any other questions, please pop them in the chat, or we're giving you the option to unmute yourself now if you want to ask us anything or add anything to the discussion, or give your opinions on it as well. Okay, hopefully nobody else has any questions, or if they do, then put them in the chat. Hopefully we've answered every point of question that you could have had, and given you all the information that you need. Again, please go ahead and check out the e-learning platform. It is all on our website as well, and the e-game to download and have a go as well. Thanks so much for listening to me. I'm going to pass over to Desiree to go through, and so you can learn about the 99% campaign. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, so yeah, as part of the project, we also created a magazine. We created a series of workshops where we also discussed with young people, you know, what was gender, what was like gender identity, like gender stereotypes. We went through a little bit of everything, where it's like dating violence, gender violence as a whole, and like, you know, how like we went through like all the games. But we, after all these workshops, we also wanted the young people to tell us what was important to them, and like, so we asked them to write different articles on different topics, whatever topic was important to them or resonated with them the most. So with these articles, we created this magazine. It's part of our 99% campaign as well. And in this magazine, like young people were able to talk about gender norms. Like we have like three main topics that the young people talked about. We never gave them any specifics, but you can see in these three topics more or less like all the articles. The articles were written by young people between the ages of 16 to 24 years old. So the first topic was about gender norms, gender stereotypes, and gender equality. Here, the young people were talking about how maybe being a woman has affected them, or like has created certain expectations for them. And it's also like young people also talk about how the media has kind of like accentuated this, and they talk about like the male gaze versus the female gaze, and they talked about gender identity. Then we also have another like group of articles that were more about gender-based violence and teen dating violence. And here was very interesting because a lot of people also wrote about how COVID has affected, like, you know, has increased the cases of domestic abuse, but also how the media has portrayed this like escalation of domestic abuse, and how the way that the media phrase this might also be affecting how we perceive this, because we are kind of like, what we can see in the newspapers is kind of like blaming COVID for domestic abuse instead of like blaming the perpetrators of the abuse. So the young people, like, they wrote about this, and they wrote about what we were talking before about staying silent when they are like in a relationship where they know that it's violent. Then we also had a different part of the articles that they talk about migration, and how that was also there was also like gender inequality when it comes to migration, because of education, because of maybe like cultural expectations that people have with a woman and men, and also other cases such as, you know, the lack of or the difficulties that migrants can have when it comes to finding a job, and how obviously like the language can be another difficulty, and how this can lead to abuse, and also how other aspects such as gentrification can affect this. We are going to send this magazine to everyone who participated in this workshop, and I think it would be really nice if you could also reshare it with your team and with the young people, because again, this was written by young people and these are their views, and these articles are really, really good, and they approach how young people see violence, or like how they see like gender discrimination, gender stereotypes in very different ways. So if you can, if you want to share it, please do. And also if you want the physical copy, let me know, and we can just do that for you and send it to your organization or school.
Great, thank you so much, Desiree. As a person who probably has bias towards this because I've written an article for the magazine, it is a great way to learn the opinions of young people. And it's really interesting to see the different articles that have been naturally created by them. It's not come out of a criteria set by anybody else. It's very much a free and independent subject choice that they can go off of. So we were not told any type of article to write. It was more, we were led by whatever we wanted to speak about and whatever opinions we wanted to share. So it's a fantastic way for everybody to listen to different types of discussions that are going on at the moment, and just get a bit of a feel for the different opinions that are going on. It is really eye-opening to see the different opinions and also learn a bit more about the different studies that we have independently found or even done ourselves. So it is a fantastic one, and you would usually have to pay for it, so you are getting it for free. Just as a roundup of everything, thank you again to everybody for taking the time to come to the meeting. and joining in with the different interactive parts. We really hope that you have learned something from this and you are able to take away something from this meeting, whether it be a bit of more of an understanding of the gender-based violence and teen dating violence in the UK, the e-learning game or the e-game as well, e-learning platform, sorry. Hopefully you will be able to implement this in your schools or education settings, and even just learn something a bit more to be able to go forward and discuss with others. And even if you see the warning signs, at least you know them now. So thank you so much again for participating, and we really hope that you have a great day. Make sure that you click onto the website links. I'll just copy and paste those again for you so they're at the bottom of the screen. But thank you again all for joining in and listening to us talk. We have finished a little earlier than usual, so I hope that benefits all of you. But thank you again. Thank you very much. Oh, I'll just pop my email in there as well. So if there are any other questions that you have following this, please make sure that you email either me or Desi and we can get back to you. Great, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you very much.